All right, gang, how's everybody doing? Just wanted to go over the high intensity interval training, the stuff that I had talked about in the video yesterday that we'll be going over today. So just got back from another run. I'm going to go through the graphs today to kind of give you guys an idea of the concept. So you don't necessarily need to master the activity. You just have to understand the concept and how it works. And I'm going to kind of go through how this worked for me in regards to how I felt day one, what I weighed on day one, and kind of where I am today. So the one thing that you have to understand is that the caloric intake and my macros have been the same. So I haven't really changed anything as far as my food intake, but the training method and the training modality has changed a little bit. So just understand that it's not necessarily the mode of activity or what you do, it's the concept of how you do it. So what I'm going to show you is the first day I ran, now that I'm officially a runner, I guess, the first day that I ran, I sort of went out and did it by feel. So I didn't want to rely on my heart rate monitor so much. I mean, I do. I constantly have my heart rate monitor on. I want to be conscious of the fact that when I'm done, I want to look at that data and see what I did. But I wasn't really married to the concept of looking at my heart rate monitor when I trained. So you can see in the graph how much red there was in that actual workout. So, I went back and I looked at it and thought to myself, what was wrong here? So, and you can see where I have it circled like just way too much red in that situation. There's literally no recovery towards the end. I just kind of ran to see how I felt. So I went back and decided that I'm going to fix this situation on the second run, make myself kind of a guinea pig, and I went to doing just like intervals. So it was a 1-to-1 ratio interval. It was a 3-minute run, 3-minute walk, 3-minute run, 3-minute walk, and I kind of did that for 5.5 miles. And what ended up happening was, as you can see in the graph there in the second run, is you can see the amount of recovery and how the red just seems to like disappear. So that piece of it, once I got sort of focused on it and I was checking my heart rate monitor, which you're going to have to do. I mean, it's a little bit cumbersome, but if you want to be effective with this, it's tough because I'm doing it outside. If it was on a treadmill, it'd be a little easier. But the whole point is that I'm trying to train my body to reach that anaerobic threshold and to get my heart rate up and then like bring it back down again to like a full recovery. And that's where people make the mistake, is that they don't let their body go to a full recovery. And I sort of equate this to, I was watching a track practice one day when my sons were playing lacrosse, and I watched the sprinters, and they would sprint the length of the track, and then they would turn around and they would walk back, and they would sort of stretch a little bit, do some active dynamic stretching, and then get back down the blocks, and they'd sprint again. And they're super lean. They're basically doing the same thing for a shorter distance, but it's the same concept, okay? And they do it day after day after day, and their bodies respond. So when we got to the second day, and I went and did the recovery run, or went and did the interval runs, and I'm going to give you the names of the apps at the end of the video so that you understand. I do use a run tracker just to check my distance, and that's all I really use it for. I always use my Metabolix heart rate monitor app so that I can look at my data when I'm done. And then I also have an interval training program that I use, the GymNext Flex Timer, so I can set my intervals. And that thing sort of sits in my ear, and even though I'm like listening to music and whatnot, the app's still running in the background, and it'll actually tell me, it'll count down, 3, 2, 1, go, and then you got to run, and then it'll say 3, 2, 1, rest, and then you got to walk, which is tough because your brain's saying to do one thing, but the app's saying something different, and you just got to follow the app, okay, and then correlate that to your heart rate. So by the time I got to the third run, I pretty much had this thing wired, and I kind of figured it out. There was only one variable that I had to sort of look at a little bit differently, and that was the fact that the topography of the run, there were some hills in there where it kind of threw me off, and I'd have to look down at my app, and then straight through the roof, my heart rate would go up, and then it would come back. I'd have to stop and kind of like bring it back down again, and then we'd go ahead and get it to go back up after my full recovery. So you can see in the third run, I pretty much had that thing wired. And then my fourth run today, when I ran, it was sort of like my body's a little bit banged up at this point from running so many days in a row, and at my current weight, I mean, I'm built more for comfort right now than I am for speed. So, you know, I got to give my body a little bit more rest moving forward. But the point is that I correlated this training to my weight. And today, I really didn't pay 100% attention to my heart rate. I thought I had it wired. I didn't, but I still worked on that peak and valley kind of thing. I did spend a little bit more time, some steady state stuff, just to not beat my body up so bad. And it was fine. I just didn't pay as much attention to it today as I did the previous 2 runs. Now, I weighed myself on the first run, and this was my weight. Again, going back to I'm built a little bit more for comfort than speed right now. So that was day number 1. And then day number 2, when I ran and I weighed myself, this was my weight on day number 2. So there was a 3-pound differential between the first run and the second run. I mean, does it really mean anything? No, it doesn't, because your day-to-day weight isn't necessarily what you're focused on. It's the aggregate of like your 21-day weight, we'll say. Okay, it's just an example. So that was my weight on day 2. And then, you know, my third run, I weighed in again, and my weight ended up going down a little bit more. And then by the 4th run, my weight was down, you know, almost like an additional 5 pounds, and that's in like less than a week. So what I'm saying is that this is a super effective way as far as weight loss is concerned to drop weight. And you know, I'm not going to do this forever. It's a 21-day cycle. We're going to take it for what it's worth. We don't have a lot to work with because we're quarantined at this point, so running is pretty much open to everyone. Not that I'm recommending it for everyone, but again, go back to the fact that it's not necessarily what you do, it's how you do it. You can jump up and down on a box, okay, and that's going to give you the same basic benefit that I get out on the road running. So what I want you to do is focus on the heart rate, make sure that you're getting that high intensity, and then you go back down to a full recovery. Don't short yourself on the recovery. Don't let your head, okay, start driving what you're doing, okay, because there's times when you're like, well, I can still keep running, but no. You got to stick to that ratio, the 1-to-1. And really where I am at this point is that the 3-minute recovery is too long. I got to shorten it back down to like maybe a 3-to-2, 3-minute run, 2-minute walk. All right, and we'll see how that goes. And I'm just going to keep track of this for like the next, you know, few days, and we'll see how the numbers correlate in regards to my like overall weight. Okay, so I'm going to leave you guys the apps at the end here. Stay focused, and remember to wash those hands. All right, be safe.